Hi, everyone. I'm Megan,
And I'm Kirsten.
and together we are Ex-Mormon Snark,
We're trading our testimonies for truth bombs.
and we're spilling all of the Mormon tea and coffee and tobacco and alcohol. Cheers,
Hey!
Kirsten.
Oh, I put mine down. Cheers! Mine is already being very much enjoyed. But cheers to your
Cheers.
birthday week,
Thanks.
which
Birthday
I
month.
think
I
birthday
celebrate the
month
whole
for
month.
sure. I believe that you deserve it because you've done a lot, and it takes a lot to get to the ripe old age of 35.
Exactly. Yeah, which I achieved
So
that milestone about 16 years ago. So I'm celebrating
I
the
don't believe
16th
you.
anniversary of my 35th birthday.
Yay!
Yay! Well, today we have an amazing topic. No matter what video we do, whenever we talk about the finances of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints,
The
I
corporation.
always get the corporation of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which actually is a collection of corporations, which we can talk about another time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But every time that I point out their finances, I get pushback from faithful LDS people who want to tell me how much the church has given to the world financially. And since Kirsten is a financial expert, a financial panther, if you will.
Oh, I love that.
Did you ever see that? Did you ever see that Simpsons episode where like Homer has to declare bankruptcy?
Oh my
And the
God,
guy,
yeah.
the attorney's like, "Sir, I think what you need is a financial planner." And he goes, financial panther. And then it's like a panther attacking all the creditors.
Yep. I'm gonna have to tell John that because I haven't thought about that in many years. And yes, that's my new title. I am a financial panther,
Yes,
not a
I think,
cougar.
no, not a cougar.
Am I old
I,
enough to be a cougar? How old do you have to be a cougar? I mean, it
over
depends on
30.
the guy,
You have
right?
to be over 30. That's it.
Ugh, well, then I'm definitely a cougar.
My sciatica.
Exactly.
Anyway, I think your business should be called Financial Panther LLC.
I love that.
Anyway,
Get rid of casual advice. Let's just call it
right.
Financial Panther.
Exactly. So I did a deep dive research, as I like to do. And so I have
Shocker.
a presentation. I have a presentation today that will help us to understand the wealth of the Mormon Church as well as its charitable giving.
This is not hating on the church. In my opinion, we are shedding light on actual facts that have been kept hidden for a very long time.
Yes. Additionally, a lot of my research that I do on the LDS Church, because they stopped being transparent with their finances back in the 50s, in the 1950s. A lot of my research on church finances comes from the Widow's Mite report, which is a report that is done on church statistics and finances that's compiled from a various number of different sources, people both inside and outside the church. And it's sort of like a watchdog group where they want people to know what's really going on with the LDS Church. The rest of my research on the other churches that I'm going to present today was done on their church websites mostly, because most of them are very transparent with what they report. Now, that's not universally true. Some of my research comes from Forbes and from some other financial websites that report these types of things. But this is, for the most part, it's publicly available information that has been documented and verified.
Yes.
Okay. So
let us begin.
Let me put on my smart girl glasses.
Megan, I always think you're smart. Those are your Clark glasses, okay?
These are my Clark Kent glasses. So nobody knows who I really am.
Ooh. Love that you did this.
I'm such a nerd. I had to like make a whole PowerPoint presentation.
No, I appreciate it because the nerd in me honors the nerd in you. This is so on brand.
Namaste.
All right. Let
I
us
give
begin.
you the top 10 wealthiest churches. Now,
Jazz hands.
I do have to do a little bit of a disclaimer here, because the way that the Catholic Church is structured, they do have different entities in different countries. And so I didn't just consider the Catholic Church as a whole, because they don't consider, the Catholic Church to be all
Right.
one. Their finances are not consolidated into one location. So a lot of these are going to be Catholic entities, but they do distinguish, especially in their reporting, they distinguish between their different entities. So I'm going to do the same here.
Perfect.
So starting with number 10, Opus Dei, with a net worth of $3 billion. Now, Opus Dei is part of the Catholic Church. It's structured as a personal prelature, which basically you can call that a corporation. That's the equivalent of a corporation in the country where they're structured. It has its own hierarchy under canonical Catholic law. It was established in 1982. And the current person who is overseeing all of it is Monsignor Fernando Ocariz Braña. He was appointed in 2017. And so this entity is assisted by central councils. They decide the budget allocations, and then they have regional vicars or priests, like people over the location, that decide the local finances from donations that go to things like education, and apostolic works is what they call it. Their annual donations are about 12.5 million euros. This is people donating to Opus Dei. And then their donations that they donate to charitable organizations and to the poor and needy also equal about 12.5 million euros. So they're at a break even between their donations that they take in and their donations that they pay out. And their donations focus on education and supporting the Catholic Church. It's not detailed separately exactly what they donate to, but these donations are included in their operating budget.
Right.
So I would assume that, if they're taking in 12.5 million and they're donating 12.5 million, I'm going to assume that all of their expenses are included in their operating budget.
Yeah.
Does that make
I
sense to
agree.
you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect.
Number 9, Trinity Church in New York City, with a net worth of around $6 billion. They take in approximately $159.3 million in annual donations.
Big jump.
Yeah, it primarily is from investments.
Mm-hmm.
Their donations are not the primary source of their income. So this is another church where investments are a big deal to them. That's where they make a lot of their money.
Yep.
And in 2022, which was the last year that this information was available, they gave about $65 million in philanthropic giving. And that $65 million is included in their operating budget. And when you consider their donations along with their operating expenses, they are pretty much at a break even. So they take in about 159 million. They outsource about 159 million. You got anything snarky to say about that, Kirsten?
Well, I got a lot. First, my first thought was, if you've heard of Trinity Church, maybe it's from National Treasure, because remember, that's where they had to go and things were buried. I don't remember if Ben Franklin's glasses were there or if it was like the treasure was in the bottom. So when I saw Trinity Church, I was like, oh, I know Trinity Church. Thanks, Nicolas Cage. So that's what I got there.
And also from the Hamilton soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
She is buried in Trinity Church near you.
That was so beautiful. So
it was. I cried.
Two places that we know Trinity Church from. Very exciting.
Yeah.
So what I am hearing and how it should be, I think, for most members, is your donations are going back to charities and helping support the church. Now, you did say they get a lot from investments, which would be in dividends.
Right.
And, splitting stocks and all those things. We have to remember that with these churches too, they are nonprofit organizations. So they are not paying taxes on any of that either.
Right.
So some of those donations too can be in the form of stocks. That is something that people do often. So it's basically the members or whoever want to donate to it are not having to pay taxes on those capital gains. And then the church also doesn't pay taxes on the capital gains. So it's kind of, as people like to say, screwing the government twice. So, there's $159 million that are just going tax-free. And I have a lot of feelings about that. I mean, considering all the things that are being cut right now, part of it is because people are finding ways to not pay taxes. Now, that being said, I don't like taxes either, but I also don't like people not having food or health care. So
right, exactly. And the other thing that I want to point out too is, like, if you're taking in $159 million a year, and we're going to get to ratios of income as opposed to charitable spending. We'll get into that at the end. But in my opinion, if a church is giving the majority of its funding to charitable causes, then they're doing what churches were supposed to do, which is to support the community, at the very least, support their own members who are in need. So just a little bit.
That's what we're being told they're supposed to do. I mean, I believe that if Jesus were here looking them in the eye, that's what he would hope they were doing,
Right. And so it's my opinion about what a church should be doing. A church should function to serve the community and to support its members. And if it's not doing those things, then maybe we need to consider, something different. If a church is making more money than it is donating to its own members or to the community as a whole, then, we should have a conversation about that, in my opinion. So just a little bit of background on Trinity Church. It's an Episcopal parish. It was incorporated as a nonprofit religious corporation under a 1697 royal charter from King William III.
So crazy.
Basically, they turned into an Anglican parish in 1697 in colonial New York. So the current rector, or the person who oversees everything, is Philip Jackson. And then there is additional administration by the other vestry in the church. So it's not just one person making decisions for how the money gets spent, because the whole vestry is included in that. So they oversee the budgets from real estate investments and endowments for ministry, philanthropy, and operations. And they have detailed annual audited reports that they share publicly. So,
which is normal for charities.
It is normal for a charity. It's normal for a church to be very transparent, especially with its own parishioners, about their finances.
Correct.
Okay. Number 8, the Church of Sweden, with a net worth of about $11.41 billion. They take in annually about $398.9 million krona. That's the little graphic I have here. So they take in about $1 billion every year in, Swedish krona. Their net worth I put in billions so that we could better compare, but their donations I put in krona. It just makes more sense this way. But basically,
I was gonna say, what is it in US dollars? Is it about $1 billion, you're saying? Or is it $1 billion krona?
So it's about 389 million krona, which is equal to about $1 billion.
Okay, I understand now.
So yeah, it's the labeling's a little confusing. I apologize.
That's okay. I'll allow it.
Thank you. I appreciate. Thank you for being gracious. So they take in about $1 billion in annual donations, and they send out about $1 billion, actually a little more than that.
Wow.
They send out about 477 million krona, which is a little bit more than $1 billion But essentially, when you take into consideration their operating expenses and their donations, they're about at a break even every year. So they're not dealing with any kind of a surplus for the most part.
That's awesome. Good for them. Good for Church of Sweden, which my name Kirsten is Swedish, so I feel like I should be proud of the Swedes.
Yeah, good for you, Church of
Church of Sweden.
So
we're proud of you.
The Church of Sweden is a de-established evangelical Lutheran denomination, which I attended my first Lutheran service today, actually, and learned a lot about the Lutheran Church. It was really fascinating. But basically, having them being disestablished and evangelical, it means that they do go out and try to gain other followers, and it means that they don't go with the traditional Lutheran. Lutherans are, shoot, what did they call it today?
Followers of Martin Luther?
Well, yes, they're all followers of Martin Luther, but they have sort of geographical synod is what they call it. It's a geographical convention of Lutheran churches that kind of all band together, and they belong to the same convention.
Yeah.
In other words.
Yeah. I've heard that with like Baptist church and stuff. They have things very similar. So
right.
Yeah.
Right. So this church operates as a registered faith community under Swedish law since about the year 2000. They were previously a state church, but obviously the Lutheran faith was established, during the Reformation period. Martin Luther had some problems with the Roman Catholic Church. And so he talked a lot about those problems. And the conversation about that took place over 100 or so years is called the Reformation period. So that's where Lutherans kind of come from. But the Archbishop is the one who is the spiritual leader, and he is part of a council that makes the financial decisions for the church. We allocate funds from membership fees to the parishes to take care of all of the, real estate holdings and the buildings and all of that they have to keep up with.
Right. Perfect. I mean, it sounds like they're using their funds very wisely, trying to make sure they have upkeep, pay their people, and then also donate any to charity. So loving all those words.
Yeah. And some of what they do is that they give cultural grants to, local people who are going to help the community have better cultural programs. And then they give a lot in international aid. About $37 million a year goes to international aid as well. So that's pretty good.
That's really cool. Yeah. I love that.
Number 7 is the Church of England with a net worth of about $13.84 billion. The Church of England is the established state church, and they're governed by the same kind of structure that the Lutheran Church is, but they're under English law. And they do have their little local parishes and charitable entities. And overall, their financial oversight is conducted by the English Parliament.
They are the reason that all of the Mayflower people came over. So, Church of England, I'm sure you're great, but the Americans are like, down, boo.
They were like, boo, we don't like you. And you're a state
we hate Church
religion.
of England.
We don't want to be Church of England parishioners anymore.
And thus all of the bullshit forever came to pass in America. Right. Oh Thanks a lot, Church of England.
Way to go. So every year, the Church of England receives about $1.5 billion in annual donations. I'm really curious to know how much of that comes from the British monarchy, but I did not look into that because that's a rabbit hole for another day.
Yeah.
But basically, their annual donations and their annual payout is about the same. About $1.5 billion gets paid out to charitable organizations and the upkeep, again, of their operating expenses for all of their land and buildings and all of their people who run the church, essentially. About $329 million of their income comes from donations, and the rest of it comes from land and investments and things like that. So their charitable giving is a significant portion of their budget. It's not detailed separately, though, but it includes parish level charity, which would basically be your local charity for individuals in the parish who are in need.
I love that. So it's going directly back to the people and the charities they've established or they want to give to and things like that. Love it.
Exactly. Should we just crack on, as they say in England?
Sure, let's go. Let's see it.
Okay.
Because I know we're getting there.
Yep, we're getting there. Number 6 is the Holy See, which is basically Vatican City, the main, like the center core of the Roman Catholic Church, and their net worth is around $15 billion. They are a sovereign juridical entity. So they have an elective monarchy. It's distinct from Vatican City state, but they were established as the central government of the Catholic Church, basically. So its foundations go back to St. Peter in the 1st century. The modern Vatican City was created in 1929, and it's currently led by Pope Francis, and he is the sovereign pontiff. So he holds ultimate authority over finances, like he's the buck stops here guy, but the day-to-day decisions are delegated to his secretariat, which is a collection of people. And then they have the entity that they have is called the APSA, which is the Administration of the Patrimony of the Apostolic See. And they are the ones who oversee. Yeah, it is. They're the ones who oversee the budgets from donations and investments. So they take in about $770 million every year in annual donations. And their operating budget is around $850 million a year. So they're at an $80 million deficit annually, according to the last few years of records.
Wow.
But they give about 16.2 million euros, which is about $18 million in charitable projects that they take on, including something that's called Peter's Pence, which is basically their arm of giving to the poor and needy that are within their own congregations.
That's still a huge amount, though, they're saving every year.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm guessing that their operating deficit is probably covered. It could be covered by Opus Dei. I'm not exactly sure how they make that work, to be honest with you.
Probably. I mean, especially churches move money around pretty easily just to help taxes and things balance out. You know, they'll donate from one charity to another. It's all essentially going to the same place, but they move money around all the time.
Yeah. So. But it's good to hear that they're giving a lot in their charitable projects. Yeah. All right. Number 5 might surprise you. We're coming away from the Catholic Church for once. Number 5, the Seventh-day Adventists. Did you know, Kirsten, that the Seventh-day Adventist Church is worth about $15.6 billion?
I did not, but this is my knowledge on that church. Wasn't Waco broken off from them?
I believe so.
The Davidians, yeah.
Yep, the Branch Davidians.
If you guys have not watched Waco on Netflix, it was very good. I grew up in Texas, as did Megan, and I remember watching that whole thing on TV. My mom was very upset. Or maybe I don't remember it. Maybe this is a fever dream. Wasn't it in like 89? Or am I making that up?
1993.
Oh, 93. Okay, so I do remember. I was like, is this a fever dream? So I remember watching on TV. It was totally horrific. When I hear of this church, I automatically go to Waco because that was very traumatic just watching it with David Koresh and that whole story. So, I mean, all of that was just so horrifically sad. I remember being so sad that there were children trapped in the big fire and the noise and all of that. I don't want to get into it now because for one, I might cry. But for two, that's all the same place, if anybody is wondering. So
yeah, and I remember that happening too. I had just barely I don't know if I was even in Texas yet when that happened, but of course I was aware of it. I mean, it was national news, and it was incredibly sad. And I didn't know at the time that it had anything to do with the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I didn't really know much about that church at all, except that people will constantly lump Mormons in with it's like Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Seventh-day Adventists, like they're all the weird ones.
Well, they have similar MLM models. Like I know,
Yeah,
like honestly, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, and the Seventh Day, they all have the missionary, they have the programs where they
right,
invite people to, they have activities they invite people to,
right.
very similar to those same, I call them the MLM Jesus model. So I get
Yeah,
why it was all lumped together.
yeah,
It was broadcast everywhere, you know, so that's
yeah.
what I think of. I hate that that's my only like connection, but here we are.
Well, I'll give you one more connection. So when I went to Kerrville to help
Mhm.
with the flood relief,
Yeah.
one of the days that I was there, there was a woman, there was a couple on my crew who were helping shovel mud out of a house. And this woman gave me a little bit of like my radar was going off. I was like, there's something off about this woman. She was very, very enthusiastically happy the entire day. And when
Yeah.
we finally got to sit down to take a break for lunch, she started asking me questions about myself personally, which it's very odd because apparently on YouTube, I'm fine with sharing details about my personal life with strangers. But when I'm in person with someone, it's a little bit different for me. I'm a little bit more guarded
Yeah.
with what I say. So I was kind of general
Yep.
in my responses, and she was effusive about everything that I was saying. Oh my gosh, that's so wonderful. I love that. Oh, that's
So
great.
shiny, happy people like giving that.
Yes, very much just
Yeah.
like, I mean, for me, it was a really emotional situation because the
Yeah.
Kerrville community is close to my heart.
Yeah.
And I was watching these people's homes who had been devastated, people lost loved ones. I mean, it was a somber,
Yeah.
somber time for me to be there helping. And I was very, I was very sober about my interactions with people who had lost everything, you
What?
know.
Megan, you weren't doing a whistle while you work kind of attitude?
I
Put
wasn't,
the
but I felt
shoulder
like
to
this
the
woman
wheel.
was. I mean,
Yeah.
it was very much it was less work and more of that like effusive, like, I'm just here to help. I'm so happy to be here. It's so
That
great
like
to meet everybody. You know,
toxic positivity
it
vibe.
came,
Yeah.
yes, it came
Yeah.
across like toxic positivity. And I hate to say anything negative about this woman because she was kind and she was there helping. But at the same
Yeah.
time, the vibe that I got from her was like a very
Culty.
blinders on culty sort of a mentality. And I've been
Yeah.
there. So I had that in myself too. I had some toxic
Yeah.
positivity when I was in the church.
I
And
think we all
so,
did. I mean,
yeah,
let's be honest. We all really had that like we're so happy we have the gospel of Jesus inside of us and it's shining through our like grow up.
yeah. So
Anyway.
anyway, if this person should happen to see this video, I apologize. I thought she was a sweet woman. I was
Yeah.
glad she was there helping, but it was very clear that she was not living in the same reality as the rest of us.
Yeah.
And when she got ready to leave for the day, um, I had, I drove my car up to Kerrville and I packed the back of my car with supplies that one would need when helping with disaster relief. I had a cooler full
Right.
of water. I had protein bars, paper towels, Clorox wipes, gloves, tools,
Yeah.
toilet paper, all kinds of stuff. And when I took my crew to the location that we were working at, I just left my car unlocked and I said, you guys are welcome to anything that's in my car. If you need band-aids,
Yeah.
anything like that, I was like,
Yeah.
please, if you hurt yourself or get cut, please clean it immediately. Because like flood mud is different than regular mud.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous
Yeah.
situation. So when she was getting ready to leave, she came up to me and she said, it was so lovely to meet you today. I just want you to know that I left a book on your front seat. It's one of my favorite books. I just absolutely loved, I loved this book and I wanted to share it with you because I think you're such a special person. And I was like, oh God, you're a Mormon, aren't you?
I'm like, that's so love bomby.
Yeah, it was pretty love bomby. It felt really love bomby. She
Yeah.
didn't know that much about me, but to say that like you're such a special person, I mean, come on.
You're
Okay.
like, sure. But she
Anyway,
could see your countenance, Megan. She could see
Yes.
it in your countenance, right?
Yeah. But
She could
anyway,
see
I
it in
was
your
thinking,
countenance.
I
Oh,
literally was thinking to myself, this lady's got to be a Mormon. Well,
yeah.
she wasn't. The book that she left on my front seat was this. It's called The Great Controversy. And
I'm familiar.
I was not familiar with this book at all. I had no
Oh,
idea what it
really?
was. I was relieved to find that it was not a Book of Mormon that she left on my front seat. And I was talking with Samuel about it on my way home. And, you know, Samuel likes to just Google things while we're talking. So he's like, I'm going to look it up. He's like, yep, it's a cult book. 100%. It's a cult book. So she left this inscription in the front. Dear Megan, you are a precious jewel. Your hard work was an inspiration to me. Praying for you as you continue to work for the Lord. I never told her I was working for the Lord, by the way. I will see you
Okay.
under the tree of life in heaven.
Oh, she's not even Mormon. How dare she talk about the tree of life without Levi's
Right.
permission? That was his doing.
Yes, she said, chapter 40 is my favorite with a little smiley face. Chapter 40, y'all. I have not read this book. I don't know anything about it. I do not have time. But chapter 40 is called God's People Delivered.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if they donate their money, which we need to get back to, by the way, how much they donate,
Yes.
do you think she had to buy that book? Or do they get like an allotted amount where they can just hand them out? I'm just curious. Like, is this a Deseret book situation where it's for profit? Or do they like give them to people to just get?
There were also a couple of pamphlets on the inside.
We
Certainty
have to
in an
read the
uncertain world.
pamphlets.
That's a rabbit hole for another time, Kirsten. We can't do it today.
That's
We don't have
true.
time.
We have
But
to
we'll
get
get
back to
into it.
money.
We will get into this, but that's a great question. There is not a price on this book. Yes, there is. It's $14.99. So I don't know if they make their members purchase these or not, because when we were in the Mormon church, or the proper name, the full name is the MFMC. When we were in that church cult corporation, most of the time they had, free books of Mormon that we could, pick up and give away. But sometimes we did have to purchase them. Sometimes we were encouraged to purchase books of Mormon for the missionaries to give away, which infuriates me. And we will get to this. We will get to it. But it infuriates me that the MFMC would make members pay for books for the missionaries to give away when they have plenty of money. So
plenty of money.
That's all I have to say about that right now. Let's please continue because, the Seventh-day Adventist Church takes in approximately $3.8 billion in annual donations. And these are in tithes and offerings. Sound familiar to the Mormons? Their outlay, or their operating budget, is not publicly detailed, as most cults are not, but it's estimated that their annual budget is somewhere between $3 and $4 billion, which is basically a break-even situation. But they give approximately $100 to $200 million annually via an organization called the ADRA, which is the Adventist Development and Relief Agency, which, if you think about development, that would be building more churches, right? So I don't necessarily think that all of that is going towards charitable causes. It's probably going to development. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is legally structured as an unincorporated association.
Okay.
So they have their local conferences and everything, but financial decisions are made by the General Conference Executive Committee.
Okay.
So they have tithes. Their tithes and offerings are allocated through a representative system and most of their money goes towards missions, education, and operations. All right. Number 4 is the Catholic Church of France, which has a net worth of about $23 billion. And they take in about 754 million euros every year. and they pay out about 889 million euros every year, which is an annual deficit of $155 million. So I know that some of that is covered by Opus Dei and other Catholic Church organizations, but they pay out a lot in their annual operating expenses. But their charitable giving is around 82 million euros. Their decision making on how they spend their money is overseen by bishops and the Catholic Education Fund. And so they have a lot of money allocated to their operations, but charities are a big part of their giving as well.
I love also for the number of Catholic schools they have out there. I know that Catholic schools are private schools. You usually have to pay to go there. But I do like that the church does put that back into education. So, I mean, as much of a rap like I guess Catholic schools get, I do think that it's nice that they do try to give back to the schools and put it into education to make it as good as they can. Even though it is private school, they get the money that way. You get what I'm saying. So when you're paying for that private education, it is going into the school, at least part of it, as far as I know.
Yeah, exactly. And I do want to say too that all of these churches that have a lot of different locations, there's a lot of money that goes into the upkeep of those buildings, and it's expensive to run and maintain all of those.
Especially for how many older Catholic churches there are. I'm sure that they have to have a lot of renovations.
Right. And older meaning like hundreds of years old, not dozens of years old, like most of the American buildings.
Correct.
Okay. Number 3. Moving right along. The Catholic Church of Australia, with a value of about $23.25 billion. So they are structured, as most of the Catholic churches are, as a collection of dioceses, which is their individual locations. But they have a conference called the Australian Catholic Bishops' Conference. They do have a president of that conference, but money spending is decided by the individual bishops in their local area. And then they have national coordination through that council for education, welfare, and other initiatives. Those are all funded by donations and investments, and their annual donations are between $1 and $2 billion, because they're not really publicly detailed exactly how much they take in, but they also are essentially at a break-even situation where their operating expenses as well as their charitable giving is in the same range, $1 to $2 billion. There was an annual report from the Church of Australia that suggested that they give around between $50 and $100 million annually to charitable causes, and all of that is included in their operating budget. So they're just basically at a break even.
Perfect.
Shall we continue?
Perfect. I still think they should give more to charity, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Moving right along.
Moving right along. Number 2, the Catholic Church in Germany, valued at around $30 billion. They also operate as a network with 27 separate locations or dioceses. The financial decisions are decentralized to the individual dioceses, and bishops oversee the budgets. They're funded primarily by church tax in Germany, with the conference providing coordination for national and international aid. So they take in approximately $7.8 billion every year in annual donations, and they pay out about the same amount. In 2024, they gave $692 million in overseas aid, but that was the only thing that was detailed as far as their charitable giving is concerned.
Yep. Yep. I mean,
are you ready for number 1, Kirsten? I feel like this is a big deal. We should have like a drum roll, because nobody knows. Who could it be? The number 1 wealthiest church in the world. Who could it be?
I have no idea. Wait.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. What is the number 1? Drum roll, please.
The number 1 wealthiest church in the world is the MFMC, also known as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, with a value of $293 billion, which is, by the way, a conservative estimate.
Very conservative.
Yeah, they take in annual donations of anywhere from $7 to $10 billion. With an operating budget of approximately $6 to $7 billion, that leaves them with an annual surplus of $1 to $3 billion between their annual donations and their operating budget.
Okay, so I have lots of thoughts, but I will start with the smallest one.
Okay.
And check my math on this because I am a little this. So you might need a calculator. Okay, so the thing that I harp on so much is people do not understand what 1 billion means.
Right.
They say they do, especially when we throw around, oh, they're a billionaire, they're a billionaire. If you make $100,000 a year, $100,000 is, I mean, right now it's like middle class, but let's say you make $100,000 a year. You would have to work 10,000 years making $100,000 a year to make 1 billion.
Yeah.
So
that's a
I'm
long
going to say
time.
it again. I'm going to say this again for the people in the back. Okay. If you make $100,000 a year and you're living a pretty nice life, especially if it's just you don't have kids or whatever, $100,000 a year, you have to work 10,000 years to make $1 billion.
Yeah.
The church conservatively has almost 300 billion. Do you understand that? No, you don't. I truly believe no human can truly comprehend what 1 billion is. Now multiply that by 300.
Here's an interesting idea. My son and I actually did the math on this at one point.
Oh my God, I love that for you, you nerd.
My house is approximately, it's a small house. Let's just put it that way. Okay. It's small. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car garage house. If we had $100 bills from floor to ceiling in my house, and they're not high ceilings, we could probably hold $1 billion in cash in this house.
It's
the church has 293 houses stacked to the brim with cash. And I feel like even that doesn't really explain it. You know, it's like an entire neighborhood. It's probably a 10 block, like a 10 city block. If you've got regular lot sizes with your houses, you've got about 300 houses that are full of $100 bills. It's not possible. It's not even possible for one person to spend $1 billion in their lifetime, even if they're buying things like yachts and whatever. If they're buying, you know, if they're living expenses, not companies, right? Not if you're buying companies. But even if you have a yacht and a house in Tuscany and a house in Manhattan and, you know, houses all over, it would be really difficult to spend $1 billion.
Guys, think of it as 10,000 of those ugly ass cars that, what are those things called that Elon Musk makes?
Oh,
the ones that are Cybertruck. Thank you.
Yeah. 10,000
of those just like lined up. And that's only 1 billion. Like,
yeah.
I mean, what is it, like a billion, or excuse me, 1 million seconds is 11 days. 1 billion seconds is like 31 years or whatever. Like,
right. That's a great way to put it. 11 days versus 31 years. That's 11,322 days.
I mean, it's insane to me. I mean, being in the industry that I'm in, a high value client would be considered one with double-digit millions. So even if you had, I mean,
10 million.
A good client, 10 million. A good client has 6, 7, or 8 million. It just, anywhere they would be dropping, like, you know, anybody would want to have them as their client if you had a financial professional firm. If you have double digits millions clients, these are your high end client. If you have triple digit, I mean, it's beyond. So 1 billion, you would only have to service that one client. If you had someone that had $1 billion and it would pay for everything, you know, so having multi-hundreds of billions, literally your mind can't comprehend it. So the idea that the church has that much, when I say the church, I'm meaning specifically the LDS Mormon religion corporation church has multi-hundreds of billions of dollars. It is truly incomprehensible to people's minds. Your mind will explode thinking about how much money that is.
Right. And
so the fact that they have, I'm sorry, but I have to get this out. The fact that they have one singular member that is having a hard time paying their bills, getting food, providing their children with clothes, even one singular member, even 10,000 members having a problem like that infuriates me beyond belief, because truly paying for their entire membership's full household needs, paying off their homes, getting them groceries, putting food on their table and clothes on their back would literally be a drop in the bucket. It would be like me or Megan giving someone $50. And I am not exaggerating.
Right.
Sorry.
Right. They could take
very passionately about this.
They could alleviate the suffering of every single one of their members who are in poverty. And they would still have plenty of money left over. And
it would be fine.
When I was in the church is very much about self-reliance, taking care of yourself, asking your family for help before you ask the church for help. But a lot of these people don't have family members who can help them out because their family members are in just as bad of a destitute situation as they are. And let's just remind everybody for 1 second.
Same.
If a destitute family is faced with the decision of paying their tithing or eating, they should pay their tithing.
No, you can go fuck yourself. Sorry.
Exactly. No, exactly.
So
I'm not even gonna bleep that out, because that's how I feel about that. Please don't tell people in poverty that they should still be giving money to the church instead of feeding their families. Like, how mind-blowingly effed is that?
The Lord does not need your money.
No.
Can we just end it there? So let's just go on, because I have a couple of more slides to share with you.
I'm so heated right now. I know you can tell, but I want to know, did you happen to add up what all of the Catholic churches are? Because I bet you it doesn't equal the Mormon church. I know
it's coming.
I knew it, because you and I are here.
We're
like, add it up, Megan.
Okay, hold on. Before we go there, I just want to say that in 2024, the Corporation of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints reported that they gave approximately $1.45 billion to charitable causes. However, let's also point out that in their calculation, we suspect very highly that they count the number of hours that their missionaries donate, and their unpaid clergy donates, and their members donate. They count that as charitable giving. So let's just say that $1.45 billion donation is not cash that is coming out of their pocket. A lot of it is the free labor that is given by their missionaries and by their members who actually run the church. Not the 15 dudes at the top, but the members who are there every single day cleaning the toilets in every chapel because the church is too cheap to pay for janitors, and mowing the lawns of all of the buildings because the church is too cheap to pay for professional landscaping. They'll have their members do it first.
Yeah. And I don't know if you experienced this. I will share my personal experience. When I was divorced with children, I had to ask for the church's help, and they would only help me in exchange for volunteer hours. So I had to go and work either cleaning the building, which then I had to find childcare for, volunteering at the bishop's food storage, which I then got to take food home, and again had to find childcare. They also said, well, you can volunteer with other organizations, just keep track of your hours and give them to us. So I literally was still trading my time for food. And I had to pay a babysitter most of the time. Well, I'd say about 50% of the time I could find someone to just help me. But that's taking from them too. I'm just saying, like, why? Why was I put in all those situations when they already knew I was beyond struggling? And then being like, oh, well, if we're gonna help you, you have to help us back. When they knew they could do it without batting a fucking eye.
Yep.
Sorry.
And the church sets us up for this, especially as young women, because as young women from the age of 12, we're encouraged to donate babysitting hours so that the adult women in the church can go to the temple, can attend their meetings, can do their visiting
Relief
teaching.
Society stuff. Yeah.
Yes. So we're encouraged to give our free labor as young as 12 years old to babysit for women in the ward, which then, it creates this weird dichotomy where it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to pay you because I'm going to the temple this time. Well, next Saturday, I'm going out with my husband. Well, we didn't pay you for that. So, are we going to pay you for this? Technically we're going to a church social, but it just creates this weird thing where young women don't feel like they should be paid for what they're doing. And adult women are questioning whether or not they should pay other young women to be their free labor. It just creates this very unhelpful, really harmful dynamic where we as women then feel guilty. I will tell you, and we've talked about this before, like getting paid to play the piano or the organ at other churches, what I'm actually worth, as opposed to like donating my time. Because when I was an undergraduate music student, all of my friends had church jobs and they were making anywhere from $500 to $2,000 a month back in the 90s at their church jobs. And I was donating the same amount of time as they were, rehearsing choirs and playing the organ and playing the piano in church. And I needed that money as a young mom struggling with my kids on food stamps and all of that stuff. And so it kind of makes me sick that the church that has so much money doesn't compensate its members for all of the free labor that runs the church and makes the church what it is, when other churches are fairly compensating the people who give time to the church, even down to the point where this one particular church that I'm currently working with, they were like, okay, on Sundays when we do perform, I need you to be here at 10:30. Service starts at 10:45, and you'll be done by about 11:45. I'm playing for one run through of one song and one performance of one song, and they insisted on paying for the entire time that I was there rather than just paying my normal rate, because they're like, if you're here, you should be paid for being here. That's a normal functioning, financially healthy church. That's how normal churches operate.
Yep, because they care.
Exactly. Which, again, I can't emphasize this enough.
The Lord does not need your money.
Like, when Jesus comes, why is he going to need a slush fund?
I've said that so many times. Between the Catholics and the Mormons, Jesus is good. Unless he's building us all gold palaces, which, I mean, for all I know, the rapture people think that he is. I don't know. Whatever he's doing with them, like, he doesn't need it. That is more than enough to carry the finances for multiple millions of people.
Right. I mean, my contention is, even if he is building all of the rapture people gold palaces, why does he need money if he's all powerful? He can just do it.
True.
He doesn't need human money to do supernatural things. That's ridiculous. No. Anyway,
here we are.
I've got two more slides. So we just did the top 10 wealthiest churches in the world. If you take churches 2 through 10 and add up their entire net worth, it comes out to about $141.1 billion versus the LDS church, which is worth conservatively $293 billion.
Ta-da.
I think I could just, I'm
And
just going to leave that right there.
for those who are not invested in the market or have a lot of financial knowledge, I'm going to tell you this. The church has many, many, many billions, hundreds of billions invested specifically in the stock market. A conservative model, so very conservative, like money market, non-growth funds, yields on average 6 to 8%, right? An aggressive model is usually between like 12 to 16 on a really good year. Sometimes the church is in aggressive models. Okay?
Because why wouldn't they be? They have nothing to lose.
So they do not care if they lose all their money because they have more where that comes from, obviously. That's all I'm going to say about that. This is growing exponentially. Anybody that understands the stock market, anybody that understands anything about finance, which, by the way, if you don't, come see me, casual advice.
Yes.
I got you, girl. We are going to be getting into the market very soon. I'm trying to get people at least out of debt first. So
yeah, that's a good idea. So by all estimates, the LDS Church is on track to be worth $1 trillion within the next 5 to 10 years.
Correct.
$1 trillion, which if you don't
because
understand
they
a billion,
also do. I have to say this for people that don't understand, because I know there are a lot out there. Especially, I truly feel there are a lot of LDS people who do not understand these things. When you invest in when you invest in stocks that pay dividends, those dividends, you can either have them cashed out or reinvested. Any smart investor will tell you reinvest the dividends. The church is doing that because the tithing is covering all their expenses, plus they have an excess, which we already talked about. So those dividends and that compound interest shoots it through the roof at a rate people cannot even comprehend. Just doing that in like I said, a normal aggressive model, such as you would use in like a Roth IRA. If you put $100,000 in there, by the end of the year, you'd be up like $12,000. My brain is fuzzy because I'm so angry right now. The point is that free money adds up real fast. So we're not making these numbers for shock value. This is how math works. And if you don't get it, believe us. If you want to, maybe pray on it. God will give you the testimony. I don't know. But I know this with every fiber of my being that God does not need your money, because they're fine. The church is fine. The temple is not worth it. Stop paying your tithing. I'm so glad to get that off my chest.
Thank you. I'm glad you did get it off your chest. And by the way, like the reason why Martin Luther broke away from the Roman Catholic Church is because they were basically charging their parishioners for, get out of jail free cards. Like you could get into heaven or get your sins reduced if you paid for these things. And so in my mind, if you're paying tithing just to get into the temple, it's kind of the same thing. That's something I never thought about when I was in the church. It was something I never equated with, like, if I want a temple recommend, I have to be current on my tithing. So that means if I fall behind on my tithing, I can literally write a check and get into the temple. Kind of the same.
And what's even worse is how much pressure they do. They tell these sensational stories like, oh, I had only $5 in my bank account, and then I found 200 because I paid my tithing, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's
You're
like,
still out, and it's still a net loss.
Exactly. And it's like, you hear stories of people spending all of their time and money. I ended up putting my piano up for sale, and then someone offered to buy it for double what I had put it up for, or whatever, things like that. They're like, it's because I paid my time. No, think of all the mental stress you went through, and you had to sell your damn piano. Like, this, I'm basing this off an actual testimony I heard, and it broke my heart. And I mean, I'm going to tell this story, which is another personal story. I won't say who. I had a very close person that sold an instrument in order to pay for groceries because they had paid their tithing first. And then their very good friend felt so bad about it, they bought it back from the person who they sold it to and gave it back. All of that being said, I'm telling this story. I know it sounds very vague because I just want to keep people private,
Yeah.
That person literally sold part of their livelihood was making money doing this as a side gig.
Yeah.
And all that mental anguish, knowing they were going to be losing more money, but they had to buy groceries and chose to pay their tithing. And they would tell this as a miraculous story. When in my mind, it's like, you are willing to give up that extra income and something that was very beneficial for your mental health because you paid tithing instead of feeding your family. Make that make sense.
It does not make sense.
Thank God you had a friend that was kind enough to buy it back.
Right.
Because how would you have survived all the other months?
Yeah.
Without that extra gig income.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
I'm glad you shared that. No, thank you.
Yeah.
So this final slide is going to seem a little bit anticlimactic, but it's the entire reason that I made this presentation in the first place, because true believing members of the Mormon Church, of the LDS Church, will assert to me all the time that the LDS Church gives more than any other organization on the planet. Well, first of all, that's hyperbole. But secondly, I wanted to do the actual numbers. So here they are. If you think about the percentage of net worth that is donated to charity, in other words, comparing the net worth to the annual amount that the church gives to charitable causes. I know this looks a little busy, but I wanted to get all of it on the same slide. So I have the churches abbreviated, and I have the percentage of their net worth that they donate to charity. So the number one richest church only donates 0.49% of its net worth to charity. So if you look at this from, here's the number one, number two, number three, number four, number five, most wealthy church. So what I did on the other side of the slide is I reorganized it for the ones who donate the most of their net worth in order from 1 to 10. So the LDS Church is number 4 in donating the amount of their net worth to charity. So they're not the worst. And we also don't know for sure about the Church of England and Opus Dei because they don't have those numbers publicly available. But we also know the LDS Church is not the best. They're not number 1 because the Catholic Church of Germany donates 2.31% of its total net worth to charity every single year. So that makes the LDS Church number 4 at donating just 4.49%, not even 1%. 0.5% of their net worth goes to charity every year.
I have a lot of thoughts about that too, because as a true believing member, when you're paying your tithing, of course, was to keep the operations of the church, but also we're told it's to help the Lord. It's to, provide fast offerings, support missionaries, whatever. But that was on top of tithing. So maybe this was a complete misunderstanding, but I would have assumed that number should have been at least 5%, maybe 10%, because that's all the tithing, right?
Right. So if the church followed its own donation model, it would be giving 10% of its increase every year. And we know that their increase every year is between 1 billion and 3 billion of the surplus. Now, some people would argue, they gave 1.45 billion last year. And that's, basically the same as their increase. But again, that's not cash. They're not counting cash that they're donating. They're counting the free labor of their members in all of that. And my other question is, and we don't know this because they're not transparent about it, are they also including fast offerings, which they don't include as part of their income because that's taken care of at a local level, as far as I understand.
Yeah.
The reason that I think that is because there was one year that my stake president got up and he said, this last year was the first time that our fast offerings did not match the amount that we needed to pay out to members in need. And so he was asking us to give more fast offerings. That's in addition to the 10% tithing. They were asking for more donations because at the local level, they paid out more than they took in fast offerings. So I don't think that the LDS Church counts fast offerings in that income, but they may count it in that outlay. So I don't know, because again, they're not transparent about
That's a good point. Yeah, because I know each board has to submit their financials. So that's a really good point that I hadn't even thought about. And also, I want to make it clear, because I have noticed that a lot of never Mormons don't know this is a thing. The church, every fast Sunday, which is the first Sunday of each month, aka testimony meeting, go listen to my Manson story if you haven't already. It's in a short.
Loved
on
that.
fast and thank you. On fast and testimony Sunday, the 12-year-old boys, the deacons as they called them, would go house to house, door to door of members of the ward and ask them for money, for fast offerings. And they'd have a little blue envelope, gray envelope, I don't recall. They had a little envelope they would hand to you. You would go in and get cash or write a check and then seal it up and hand it back to them. So if you said, no, I don't have anything, or, something like that, not only was it horrifically embarrassing, but now they know you might be someone that needs that money, and also it's a very awkward conversation as an adult to have with a 12-year-old. And I always could tell that they were like, their shirt looked halfway tucked, their hair, like they looked tired, probably hungry. They didn't want to be there either. There were times that I actively avoided answering the door because I knew they were there. How screwed up is that to have like these little 12-year-old boys go and be beggars to people in the ward? I know it's not for them, but you know what I'm saying. I know that you thought it was awkward. Did your kids participate in any of that? Because I was out of the church way before my kids got to that age.
No, because, my oldest son did go home teaching, but I don't think that he had to collect fast offerings, because I think by that time they had just said, put it in the envelope with your regular tithing. But he did go home teaching for at least a couple years, and then he was out. And then my younger son never did that because he was out at 12. So I was grateful they never had to do that, but I know my brothers did it for sure.
Yeah. I hated when they came and did that. It was freaking worst. So anyways, that's my fast offerings rant, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we have to go, but I am going to include the link to your channel in the show notes, as well as on a card. For any time that you mention it, I put it up on a card so people can click it. Please make sure to subscribe to our brand new channel and join us on Monday nights for our live family home evening, which is always a rockin' good time.
Yes. And I try to do them on Sundays. Sometimes it will be Monday, but I always post the recipe for the treat that we're going to have on Monday. So if you want to make sure you have all the ingredients and enjoy the treat with us, I encourage you to do so, because it's just a straight up good time.
Exactly. Enjoy the treat with us. We'll see you on Monday, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Don't forget.
The Lord does not need your money.
Bye.